So Beef, like the first question is like how you got into the space and what got you so excited about DAOs?
So initially what got me really excited was Colony. I was watching DevCon 0, the presentations was Colony introducing DAOs and the future of work, and I was just blown away.
Nice. And like Colony, that's a basically kind of like a reputation based DAO model. If I'm not mistaken, compared to Aragon, they really like stress that in their reputation part. And your project, the metagame, it's also kind of based on reputation. Is that correct?
Yeah. So what's cool about Colony is they're like really trying to build a governance and like bureaucracy minimized frameworks. Proposals pass by default, and they only fail if people like raise an issue with the proposal. And then metagame itself was meant to be this sort of onboarding place for the DAO space. So we built a network of around 40 different DAOs, and then people would come into metagame and learn like the basics of Web3, why it all matters beside like the number go up, what are DAOs, and then get involved in one of the DAOs. But if they decided to continue working through metagame instead of joining DAOs, they were earning XP points, so like any contribution to the project on GitHub or on Discord or in this channel that we used for reporting contributions, people get rewarded for their contributions based on either what the algorithm says or based on people's input on their message and then what the algorithm says.
Welcome at our another live stream with How to DAO and Network State Connect. Today we have Beef on the pod, and we will be discussing DAOs because Beef has been in DAOs for years. He also ran initiatives like DAO Spring and DAO December. He led the creation of DAO Handbook, so another great resource, same as How to DAO book for people who are excited about DAOs and want to learn more. So welcome, Beef.
Thank you.
Nice. So Beef, like the first question is like how you got into the space and what got you so excited about DAOs?
So initially what got me really excited was Colony. I was watching DevCon 0, I think it was DevCon 0 talks, and one of the presentations was Colony introducing DAOs and the future of work, and I was just blown away. Yeah, that's what really hooked me from the beginning.
Nice. And like Colony, that's a basically kind of like a reputation based DAO model. If I'm not mistaken, compared to Aragon, they really like stress that in their reputation part. And your project, the metagame, it's also kind of based on reputation. Is that correct?
Yeah. So what's cool about Colony is they're like really trying to build a governance and like bureaucracy minimized framework. Proposals pass by default, and they only fail if people like raise an issue with the proposal. But I don't know much else about Colony other than that, but it was what got me in. And then metagame itself was meant to be this sort of onboarding place for the DAO space. So we built a network of around 40 different DAOs, and then people would come into metagame and learn like the basics of Web3, why it all matters beside like the number go up, what are DAOs, and then get involved in one of the DAOs. But if they decided to continue working through metagame instead of joining DAOs, they were earning XP points, so like any contribution to the project on GitHub or on Discord or in this channel that we used for reporting contributions, people get rewarded for their contributions based on either what the algorithm says or based on people's input on their message and then what the algorithm says. So we kind of pioneered the whole points-for-airdrops. We had once a month we were distributing tokens based on the XP that people were accruing over the month, and that was in 2019.
That's super cool. How many people did you got into the metagame?
I think at peak we were like 200-300 people.
That's cool. We definitely need to learn from you on that one because like How to DAO kind of have the same mission, so I feel like there is a lot of learning we can take from metagame. I'm sorry, continue.
No, I was just gonna say we wanted to limit it to begin with. We didn't want it to like scale infinitely for the first version. So we said we will only take 150 players and 150 patrons. So we split the community in two, and one side was like the people who are contributing to metagame with work, and the other side was supposed to be the people that contributed by buying the token or adding liquidity. And then the third group were the projects themselves. So there were players, patrons, and guilds, like the basic structure.
It's like the
And
whole,
then
whole
players
game.
divided into like guilds. Yeah, that
So
was the
Pete,
idea. And then the players had the Writers Guild, the Builders Guild, the Bridge Builders Guild for like collaborating with other DAOs. And yeah, there were like a bunch of these sub guilds that were used to run metagame.
So Pete, before just to take a step back, right before you went down this whole rabbit hole, what happened in your previous life, your pre-DAO life, that made it all the more interesting for you to get deeper into this space? Is there some experience that led you there? Yeah,
It
tell us about it.
disappeared. I was a nihilistic and depressed plumber. That was like Pete before crypto.
An actual
But
plumber.
while I was busy being a nihilist and depressed plumber, I studied plumbing, gas pipes, and central heating systems. No, centralized heating systems. I was always interested in like alternative economic systems. So for a time, I was fascinated by this thing called the resource-based economy and like eco villages, self-sustainable living, and all of that kind of stuff. So then, when I found Ethereum, like everything just clicked into place. It was like, oh, this is the technology we need to experiment and build all of these new kinds of organizations, new kinds of socioeconomic systems where people can work for different kinds of outcomes.
So
So
that makes you.
was the decentralized heating system actually our first project?
It never took off.
So
Too
what about
inefficient.
that?
It was just too inefficient.
I mean, everybody heat for themselves. I do find it interesting. But with this whole journey, it's interesting, right? Because if you would compare yourself, your background to other participants in the DAO space, you were in a way an engineer or technician, or however you want to call that. Do you see similar profiles participating in the DAO space, or are you really unique in this sense?
I haven't met so many people that came from that kind of like manual labor background, although I did meet a few, yeah.
Because I've seen some.
Or people who like bartending or any kind of random work.
Yeah, because for some, right, the promise almost of decentralization and DAOs ultimately is that we can involve these huge grassroots communities, and this, DAOs will actually come to the people. In your journey, you came to DAOs in a way, right? So, what do you think about this bigger vision? Can we in the future get more people in that actually are not from a software background or that have all types of other walks of life?
Yeah, I hope so. I think so. Like we see more and more DAOs, especially that are like doing things that are not necessarily about crypto at all, just using the DAO technology to do something in the real world. I hope we see much more of that. Yeah.
Yeah, so we had a network state guy a couple episodes before, Matt from Network State Connect, and also I met Matt actually at the Network Society camp, and I would say most of the people, or I did not really like count it, but like many of those people were like blue collar jobs. They were coming from, as you said, like, bartending or doing some like manual labor, but they just not happy in their lives. And they kind of go into the network states or the DAOs because they see that there can be a change and it can actually work better for them as well. Because like I believe like the big societal problem, it's like that the difference between rich and poor are like expanding exponentially. The blue collar jobs are getting worse off over time, and white collars are getting way better off. And I hope like we are here to little bit like level the playing field for everyone. So from just the DAO perspective, getting like into like the initiatives you run. So, there was the metagame, and then I think DAO December was the first, or DAO Spring, Beef?
December was first, yeah.
DAO December. So when was the like first edition of DAO December, and like what did you wanted to like bring to people? Like what was the purpose of DAO December?
The first December was in like, I think 3 years ago. It was organized by the DAO House team. And I really like the initiative, like having this event that brings together all of the DAO space, especially online, because a lot of people can't just like jump around the world and go to these different conferences. So I really like the accessibility of DAO December, and I think really like it belongs online. And then next year they didn't organize it. And then one more year passed, and I was just like, fuck it, I'll just organize it myself, and then hopefully next year somebody else organizes it. And so yeah, that was the basic idea. And then also I was already thinking about these DAO playbooks, and I wanted to use the opportunity to create the DAO December event. The first year was a lot more, I guess, I wouldn't say decentralized, but like in terms of topics, it was so structured. Whereas the one I organized really wanted to cover like everything in terms of building a DAO. So there were panels on like anything from like building an MVP to product market fit and like a governance structure, the reputation. We wanted to cover everything.
Nice.
So
So
use it to help people learn about DAOs and like know how to start DAOs, and then also we'll also turn all of that content into the DAO playbook, which we then used to organize the DAO Spring, which was like the first DAO accelerator incubation program. So yeah, those three came one after the other, and one kind of built on top of the previous one.
that's nice, and I think like it will be interesting for our listeners like to maybe get some learnings out of that. But you got like, especially because like people who are going to read the How to DAO book or listening to this pod like either like newish to crypto and DAOs, like what would you say are the kind of basics for like if you are considering starting a DAO, like what you should be thinking of, like what should be kind of like what is your advice, like how to start the journey and like how to continue to be successful there?
I would say number one is don't start a DAO.
And then you are fine.
I think then just go on and it will all be great. And I would say really it's important for people to understand why they're starting a DAO, like what's the goal, why does it have to be a DAO and not like a traditional project. And then because I think in most cases it makes more sense to like if you're building a product, you should just build a product. Like you don't need a DAO to begin with, and then like build a product and then turn the project into a DAO instead of like calling it a DAO from the beginning, where like either you will be too decentralized and you won't make it to like finding the product market fit, because the whole design by committee kind of stuff, and just like everything takes so much longer when you need to govern it. And if you're just starting to build, then like there isn't anything worth governing. Like you're just governing hot air, and it just like creates this bureaucracy. And the bureaucracy keeps the project from being built. So I would say if you're building a product, just build the product and think about turning it to DAO later. Don't put the DAO in the name, because it will attract people and who will be like, oh, but if you're like building it in a centralized way, it's like, oh, you're calling it a DAO, but it's not really a DAO, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, just don't do it unless you really want to build a community. So if it's like a DAO for people of a specific interest or something that has like a more vague mission, then I think it makes much more sense. Like if you have a very precise, specific mission that you want to deliver, probably makes more sense to start without a DAO. And if you want to build something that has like a more vague mission and it's more like a community sort of thing, then it makes more sense to start as a DAO. But still be prepared that even though you're calling it a DAO, it's still gonna be like 95% work being done by you. Like you should prepare yourself mentally that most people coming in will be like, oh, I want to help, how can I help? And then they will disappear the next day. So like keep the expectations low.
You mentioned Colony earlier, right? As a way to accelerate decision making almost. Do you think those models can help maybe even with some type of product building, that it's like yes by default?
Yeah, I think that's one way to do it for sure. And having this sort of a duocracy, although that also has downsides. And then another one is using something like Heads protocol and really working out like what are the roles needed, and then having people who have this role. The role itself contains all the power necessary to make decisions within this branch of work. So the person who's doing this work doesn't have to like go to the community to get feedback and approval on every step of their work, which is like what really turns off the talented people who just want to like move forward and complete work.
But you've seen a lot of DAOs, right? What are DAOs that you think really fit the example that Puncar is hinting at, which is like a DAO that's actually successful? So are there examples that speak to you, which you would think of as DAOs that made it?
DAOs that made it. All the DAOs that really made it look in many ways more like a normal company where you have centralized teams. You have a core team, and then the DAO makes decisions on like the protocol parameters and other stuff. But even in that case, it's more so like the community approves the decisions that are made. Like the core team researches and like makes a proposal, and then the community approves that. Probably Aave is like the most successful, at least financially, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of sympathize with that. I would not call it centralized approach, but more like that you have a leadership actually within a DAO. So it's not like leaderless approach. Like DAOs doesn't mean to me that it's a flat organization where everyone has the same rights and same votes and can do whatever they want. No, like we gather together to achieve some mission. Different people have different skills and different value they can provide, and we should act on it. Some people are better leaders, we will let them lead. Some people are better executioners, and we let them execute. DAOs are no
Right.
exception to that. Like without like proper structure, we would fail, and they usually failed. Some fail later because they raised tons of money, so it took time to spend it. But some failed earlier because they did not raise that big amount of money. So in terms of like the DAO handbook, so from the DAO December, you basically use the content, add some more content from the contributors, and created like I would say first DAO book called DAO handbook. Like what's actually in there?
What's in there? Like at this point, I forgot the whole list of chapters because that was like 6 or more months ago, and I just mentally the space moves you forward too much. But it really like covering everything from like what is a DAO all the way to like making sure like your community stays healthy and finding the product market fit, then like the delegation systems and yeah, really covered. I think it was like 15 chapters or something like that.
So basically, like
It's
if you just
150
summarize
pages
it,
in total.
if I just summarize it, like it basically contain all the aspects of DAOs you should know before you start a DAO.
Right, when you're
Learnings
yeah.
from different contributors, how their journey went. So maybe getting a little bit back to what Gideon was asking about DAO space as well. Like, okay, so you said Aave is one of the most successful one. You mentioned like they have like the leadership, but like, is it that DAO you are excited about, or is it some different type of DAO? Actually, something like you're really looking forward to like play out. Like, what's kind of your interest in the DAO space now?
The intersection of agents and DAOs. So I took a step back a bit from the DAO space for the most part after DAO Spring, and that was like I think in April or
I
May
assume
or
it was
something
in the
like that.
spring.
Yeah, it was in the spring, although not. It was supposed to be at the very beginning of spring, but it wasn't at the very beginning after all. But yeah, by the time it ended, I was burnt out, and not just from DAO Spring, but from Metagame itself. So then for a few months, I took time off, like first a month off, like completely, and then started getting back to the space, but it wasn't focused on the DAO space specifically anymore, whereas previously I was always just focused on DAOs. I think in terms of building DAOs, probably Heads protocol is most interesting to me. And then in terms of, but yeah, it's not a DAO, which is also interesting. And then what was I gonna say? And then in terms of actual DAOs, one cool that I've been engaging with is called Nani DAO, which is like they're building an on-chain agent, and the agent is also like a DAO and owned by the DAO, and is supposed to manage the DAO. And it will be the first agent with legal personhood. So the project was started by Ross Campbell from LexDAO, and he co-wrote the Wyoming DAO legislation, and he made the first ever like DAO LLC, like the DAO wrapper, and now he's trying to make the first agent with legal personhood. But yeah, they started working on this through LexDAO at first, where they wanted to build, or through Kali, maybe through Kali, which was his second project that was made actually for creating legal wrappers for DAOs. But they wanted to see how far they can take it to like make their DAO ran or managed by an AI agent. And then this became a whole project of its own.
So
It's cool
what do you
stuff.
see there in terms of potential, right? Because this is a very interesting one, of course. Some of you might have seen the AI 16Z initiative, right? Which is supposed to be a DAO that helps an AI do investments for the participants of the DAO, or at least token holders. Yeah, how do you compare that to this? And what do you see in terms of potential here? Like, are we just playing around experimenting, or is there more serious either trouble or success that you see in the future?
I would say very different projects, and AI 16Z started with the idea of like they're gonna outperform A16Z, but then started focusing more on the framework itself. And now I think they got a cease and desist from A16Z, and they rebranded to Eliza OS. But they're building an open source framework for building agents. They have like thousands of contributors, and it's like AI agents in general, and most of those AI agents were, at least in the beginning, like Twitter bots and other stuff like that. And then Nani is like specifically focused on on-chain agents and agents that interact with smart contracts. And people can go on the website. You need to hold a specific amount of the token to be able to access the chat, which is an uncensored llama, running a llama model. And then you can use it. You can tell it like, buy this token. When it goes up 2x, sell half of it for ETH, or like always make sure that my account is balanced 50-50% between ETH and these other coins, or like add liquidity, concentrate liquidity position, and make sure that this liquidity position always stays within 10% of the current price. So you can create really complex sequences of actions and automate them, and it should really make it easier for people to interact with DeFi and DAOs in general. So you can also like submit proposals. So the Nani itself is running on Moloch v3, but without the DAO house front end. It's just contracts, and you interact through the chatbot, where you can pull up what are the proposals currently running, and you can submit proposals and vote on proposals all through the chat UI.
It's exciting and scary at the same time, I feel. You're kind of like giving so much power to AI now, and with your funds basically. So your wallet is now controlled by AI, which you may not know actually how it what it'll do. And I'm also helping to build one project, which we sometimes use the DAO in the name, sometimes not, depends. It's called Mother, and it's also for like registering and helping create more agents. So it's not launched officially yet, but like we are getting there. What's like your broad vision for AI agents, and especially
AI ecosystem? No official name yet.
So what's your Pif? What's your broader vision for AI agents? Where do you see the space to go? What excites you?
I really like this on-chain agent stuff. Like the Twitter slop is really annoying. Like the replies on Twitter, it's just annoying to read through. But the on-chain agent stuff, I think it's interesting. And obviously we shouldn't give too much power to agents, at least not yet. So there are, at least in Nani, different measures taken. Like it's one of the signers on the multi-sig, but not all of the signers. And I think you both are able to control, or I think in general the project doing this should be able to have people set more like granular permission. So like your on-chain agent can only do specific actions, or it can only propose to do things, and then you have to accept this like the requests for transactions or something like that.
I mean, I've seen way worse, to be honest, right? So there's this Dutch company that was started a number of years ago, pre the big LLM boom. It was called, and still exists, it's called Bots. And it lets you invest money into trading bots. And the only thing they disclose is the strategy of the bot. So there's a whole bunch of algorithms underneath, but you actually can't see those. So all you see is, well, it optimizes for the top 10 of a certain category of altcoins, or it always balances out BTC and ETH in a certain ratio, or all that type of stuff. Yeah, I mean, funny enough, I did plow a lot of money into that just to kind of test it out, and I got away with probably the equal amount. But the assumption there is, hey, these might be more interesting trading strategies, and eventually they might also deploy short strategies to help you kind of weather turbulence. So just reflecting on that, I think, apparently I was willing to invest actual money into trading bots of which I didn't actually know what the real underlying algorithms were. They would just have these crazy names like Orange Selma or something, and I would just go invest in that. So I guess what I'm saying here is potentially with these AI agents might not be perfectly predictable, but when you use Llama and these types of models, at least you know what is running more or less under the hood, right?
Right. Yeah, like having it open source and the code verifiable and all of that.
Yeah.
Super important. And wasn't possible before, like for the most part.
So can I ask you another question? I went to December and one of the panel sessions had a participant. His name was Q, or her name, we wouldn't know, because that person didn't have their camera on in the sessions and used text-to-speech to communicate. So whenever we would be talking, Q would kind of type the response and some AI would read out the response. So the whole whole shtick here was basically that Q is completely anonymous, very probably impossible to trace. So this type of participation, I'm curious what you think of that, because in a way it is this amazing space that DAOs also hold for these types of people that just want to remain completely sovereign. And this Q person actually was a contributor that has contributed to a number of DAOs and actually made money that way and made some type of a living. So I'm curious what you think of these types of phenomena and maybe the importance of anonymity in a space like that.
Yeah, like just an hour ago, I was reading about how this guy, like people broke into his house, held a knife to his throat, and took like millions of his crypto. And he was like very low profile. He rode old Toyota, and like he told only a few people in his life knew that he even made any money in crypto at all. So like I think it's gonna become increasingly dangerous, and everybody should buy a gun. And I will definitely buy a gun. So yeah, like even for me, like I see people from high school and they're like, "Oh, you're in crypto, like you must be rich." And I'm like, well, like people are gonna start thinking that I'm rich, and like people don't know that I lost like 90% of my crypto over the years in various dumb ways. But at some point, somebody will think like that I still have a shit ton of crypto, and yeah. So I think it's gonna be anonymity and privacy increasingly more important. And my face is unfortunately already everywhere out there because I also have a podcast and engage in this kind of stuff. And it's annoying to do stuff like to go to the length that Q goes to, like to participate in voice calls by generating the voice, but it's not a dumb idea actually. I thought the question was going to lead in the direction of AI DAO participant, where you're no longer sure if the person you're talking to is a real person or if the whole DAO is just AI agents.
Well, let's go that way. What do you think about? So I had
this way was a bit more depressing.
Well, I had the conversation with Dennis.
Pete, we didn't expect such a bummer answer.
And basically, like, a couple people told me already, like that, the organizations will be combinations of people and agents, and you may know like who you are interacting with, or maybe Puncar agent actually interact with Peef agent, so Peef and Puncar never need to talk, but they will agree on stuff. Because like my agent has all my information, your agent has all your information. Like, why we need to interact with each other if our agents can do it for us? So like, how you kind of, and maybe also do you think about this kind of future where like agents and people are kind of working alongside each other?
Yeah, I think it's already happening. I think like I wouldn't be surprised if there's like, I'm already talking to a bunch of people who are using AI to like handle their DMs. Where like if it's 100% sure that's how it should respond, just like let it respond. Otherwise it needs to go back to you and ask you, hey, like these are the answers that I want to send. Is this okay? You just approve. I definitely think that the world is going in this direction. Like at least like I have a few thousand followers on Twitter, and I know that many people, and my DMs are always like a mess. So I can definitely imagine people who have like tens or hundreds of thousands of followers are already doing something like that. And it's just going to get easier for others to do it as well.
I mean, you're also a community manager, right? I mean, December probably in DAO Spring brought a lot of communication with it. But with that, there's also the planning, right. There's the facilitation, et cetera, et cetera. Potentially your life could be a lot easier. I'm not sure if it's there yet.
Yeah, I definitely got asked also a lot of questions that I either answered in other DMs or like their available information about DAOs member, or yeah, like oftentimes I had to write the same shit that I told other people in DMs, or I would go to this other chat and copy paste it to this new chat, and yeah, that could have been done by AI for sure. I think the question is only like how far is that, like how far are we from these tools being really readily available where it's not like a hassle for people to install in some way.
Well, I think like OpenAI just announced or like launched this like operator. I haven't tried it yet, but it feels like it will be easy to set up some like, those kind of dump quests. You can like, they can just execute. It can go online. It can go into your Telegram. It can just answer things. So I think we are very close to that for now. I'm not sure if it's available globally, and it's also pretty expensive, kind of. So it's definitely not like mainstream adoption yet, but we are so close to actually agents doing all the repetitive work for us. And on top of it, like, in San Francisco and other cities in the US, like we have now Waymos, which is like the autonomous cars. So you don't need drivers anymore. So also we are getting rid of that kind of task you had to do, and Tesla has the autopilot as well. So it feels like the future is coming so fast. Like, like 3 years ago, we would not expect that to be here now. And like, it feels like the next year we would have nothing to do because everything will be taken care of by some type of AI. Is that a good thing or is it a bad
Moving
thing?
incredibly fast. I think it's overall a good thing. I think there will be a lot of bad things happening as a result and consequences, but overall I would still say it's a good thing.
So you are a techno optimist, correct?
Yeah, I would say so.
So what you are looking forward the most out of those things? Like, what is the worst task you need to execute now and you are just waiting to have AI to do it for you?
Nothing specific, but like this example with DMs is good. Then like being able to program basic stuff through cursor. Like I have zero knowledge in programming and I can already do like basic things, or like fork a repo and add some like a basic additional functionality, or at least deploy it. And so I think people will be able to do a lot more. And like I haven't been doing that yet, but at least like I've been playing with it, like just like generating ideas for tweeting things from an account. Like I haven't posted personally any AI things, at least without heavily editing it, but I think it's just gonna become easier for people to do things on their own. So like something that previously used to take a whole team of like 5 or 6 people will just be able to do it alone. And then other people would say like, oh, but then like what where do all these other people get to work? Well, they build other cool shit because like it enables anybody to do stuff like this. It's not concentrated for like people who are rich. I mean, yeah, agent like is still I think OpenAI agent, you need to be GPT Pro user or something, so you need to be paying $200 a month or something like that. So that's also still pretty expensive, but like the prices are gonna be falling rapidly. And like we see DeepSeek now, which is much cheaper, and people will be deploying their own models. And
I mean, if you
just
think
use
I think a few years
agents.
from now it's not gonna be an issue. What?
We will just use Chinese agents because they will be cheaper than the Americans one.
Yeah.
So in the
Have
context
2
of
Mac
that,
minis and just run it on that.
in the context of DAOs, right? One of the you started this conversation also by saying, governance by committee or decision making by committee. That can sometimes be slow. Theoretically, at least, your decision-making quality can go up, right? There's more inputs to that. And we've seen in the space of all these AI agents that if they talk to each other, they can actually help each other, sometimes inspire each other or provide better outcomes, right? So if you kind of overlay that on the whole DAO concept and landscape, obviously agents that are participating in a DAO do not have to sleep and can always be up to date with the latest governance. They can also permanently talk to each other and kind of have discourse. So theoretically, we could see these DAOs made up out of these agents, which have these conversations and actually do execute pretty fast and at a pretty high quality. Could you see that happening?
Definitely. Like, yeah, one of the major blockers is just like people, when discussing things, they need to wait for other person to respond, and then that might be the next day, and then you have people across many different time zones, and then you have meetings, and then you need to follow up on the other meeting because other people also need to be contacted and ask for opinion and all the other stuff. Whereas like 2 minutes later, the AI has discussed it between like a bunch of different agents, and the consensus is there. So I would say definitely, yeah. Delegation DAOs, like that's already being played with for a while, just like agents analyzing proposals and then either voting or suggesting votes based on like your own personality or how you like what kind of biases you set for the agent.
Also be gatekeeping for proposal quality, right? To kind of check if a proposal conforms to core values or to the strategy that the DAO is actually trying to achieve.
And that's also one of the great things that I listed. So I wrote this article about the intersection of AI and DAOs. That's one of the big points, is that like an AI agent can just be fully honest and not worry about sounding like an asshole or whatever, because everybody knows like it's an agent, and this agent's task is to like scrutinize and to like figure out whether this proposal fits or it doesn't. And like there's no politics, there's no like hurt feel, like the bot like doesn't care, and people don't care much either, because like you can blame it, like it's just being honest. Yeah, it's much more difficult.
Imagine politics between AI bots. That's going to be interesting.
Brutal.
You're going to see some interesting scenarios.
But also no ego. So that's another side. There's no ego either. So like they're just going to, when it realizes that's okay, you're right. Oh yeah, you're right. And just going to like resolve the issue.
You have a lot of hope for the goodwill of AIs and their benevolence. Let's see.
Yeah.
So maybe just getting into the meta level a little bit. Like I know like before you joined crypto, you were like interested in like this new decentralized or alternative business models and alternative societies. Like now with everything you went through and now like AI, it's maturing and so on. Do you see like emergence of some of this like new type of societies, new type of business models, or anything like on the kind of more like a broader level than like really like detailed like task can be executed, but more like the societal change?
We'll see, I guess. There's a crazy experiment happening on Farcaster. The project is called Native, and they just released dots, which are like AI agents, but the goal is to create this economy, so like a village of humans and AI agents. And these AI agents will be like, I don't know how exactly this economy will work, but I was just reading an announcement tweet about some of these things yesterday, and how these agents will be, they will be able to launch other agents, and they will be able to launch tokens. Like when there's a demand for tea, one of the agents can launch a tea token, and then other agents can invest in tea token and like all the trade it, whatever. And then the goal of each of these dots, it needs to make profit. So like each needs to find its own role within the society, so it can like be producing different goods that are used or bought by other agents. But the goal of every agent is to make money, so we can buy the native token, because if it doesn't have a native token, it dies.
Oh, wow. It's a real cutthroat capitalist system.
Exactly. It's a brutal.
But I think this like goes. What I like about this like goes back to another one of my points in the post, is that if a DAO is really led by an agent, then like the mission of this DAO is this agent's whole purpose, like for being, like its whole life is to make this idea work. Like there's no personal incentive, there's no time off, like there's no balancing a good life with work, and there's also no like crazy incentives like trying to extract as much profit as possible, or like how corporations can have this like mission statement all nice up on the wall, but there's this how do they say it, like the fiduciary duty to like make as much profit for the investors, for the shareholders. But an AI agent led DAO, like it's really like the mission is this agent's like core prompt. This whole person of being is this mission. So like it will always not spend too much money, and know that like it needs to continue working on this mission, because if the mission fails, the agent fails, and it's always fully aligned with the mission. So I really like this idea.
That's cool. I have not heard that, but like I feel like every DAO should have a CEO now, and the CEO should be AI agent, basically based on the mission which is voted in
I
by the
mean,
token holders.
let's start with a
Yeah.
project manager maybe. I'm not sure about CEO,
Well, like you need the top level. You know,
It
you
can be
need the top
replaced. It can be
level.
replaced.
but yeah,
There's
tell me
like a
about it now.
commission on top of it.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right. There's a
Work
guardian
reviewed.
council.
There's one cool project in the real life. I don't know. Do you know Meta Camp?
I heard about
So
it.
Meta Camp was like this. I mean, still is. They're organizing another one. Retreat mainly for the DAO people. That's happening in Costa Rica for like 4 years, maybe even 5 years by now. But it was in this like beachside glamping resort, and it was very cool. It was so cool to these people that they decided to build a permanent place, and so they raised some money and are building what they're calling the Meta Campus. And the Meta Campus will start as like for most of the year it will be used as a resort, so like it will be a, I guess, a product for tourists, and then out of that time there will be like a few months where it will be used for crypto events, so like for these retreats for other DAOs and for the core people, whatever. And then over time I guess it will be used less as a normal people resort and more for crypto stuff. But the point is that they're already talking about one of the people who's very active there wants to build Jarvis, so like there will be, for example, how there will be cameras around the property, and there will be like this server room and all of these sensors from around the place, from cameras and like the microphones in different like offices, whatever. All of this data will be fed to this locally running Jarvis agent, and then people will be able to prompt it like, oh, well, like, what did people say about DAOs during lunchtime? Or like, where is this? I'm looking for this person. Where is this person now? When was he last seen on one of the cameras? So like, yeah, there's
And with whom
obviously
he was
potential
seen
for this
last
to become
time.
dystopian. With whom was he seen last time?
Yeah,
You
who's he
can get
texting all the time?
like this like Black Mirror vibe, but yeah, a lot of very interesting stuff.
Sounds amazing. I just had actually a couple discussions this week about privacy, and this seems like very much right up that alley. That like there will be like no privacy in the future, actually. But it's
Yeah,
definitely cool.
but yeah, even less because like already things are
Yeah,
being
it's already
recorded.
happening.
It's just a matter of like who can access it. Is it some people in a dark room, or is it anybody who requests this knowledge? So it's the democratizing surveillance. I'm not sure it's a good thing, but it is what it is.
It's like a blockchain. Basically, everyone has their own node, so everyone has the same information.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
on a personal
And
note,
those are like some of the examples that he gave, but there were like some cases that are like less edging on dystopia. What were you gonna say?
so on a more personal note, Pete, it seems like you like to be in these type of avant-garde communities, right? These communities which are kind of in the niches working on these big future problems. And you described, of course, in the beginning, these alternative economic systems. Then there's crypto, then there's DAOs, now there's AI. Is this the fate of your life, that you will always be at the forefront? And then as soon as it develops to a certain stage, you just leave and move on?
I hope so. That sounds fun. If I can maintain interest, but I would say like in general, it's been revolving around similar topics. Like I'm always interested in like how to build a more like better functioning societies or socioeconomic system, organizations and stuff like that. So it's been crypto and DAOs for many years, and now more focused on this agent stuff. But yeah, always interested in new stuff coming up, and obviously like the whole pop-up cities movement. It's also like talking about more topics like the network states or like other like the privacy stuff. It's all adjacent to my main interests. I think it will keep evolving like that. And my own podcast is called Next Meta. Always looking for the next meta.
There you go. I mean, that's a great segue into the future, right? So maybe this is also the space for you to kind of help the viewers and listeners join the movement and join you on your journey, right? So they can obviously go to your podcast. So yeah, maybe Is there other stuff you want to plug or really point people's attention to?
Maybe so like when you first mentioned this AI and DAO stuff, I found the article, so I'm gonna read the bullet points. But before I forget, I will also mention the documentary that we're producing. So like the documentary is called Built on Ethereum. It's meant to cover like all of the main branches of crypto, like DeFi, DAOs, DeSci, real world assets. So we're gonna have like a little chapter about each of these main branches. And again, the goal is to help people understand crypto and like what's the real like power behind crypto besides number go up. And that's also kind of the continuation of the mission that I had with Metagame, except after we shut down Metagame, decided to focus on content full time. So yeah, now we're trying to do this kind of stuff through content rather than through building a platform. So
Just a question on
that
that
and the
one.
podcast.
Can
Yeah.
people still contribute to the juice box for creation of the documentary? Is it still open?
Yeah, the Juicebox is open. Juicebox is open, and I guess we can put all the links in the description.
Yes.
So in the description there should be a link to Juicebox, to the documentary in general, and maybe to the newsletter or the YouTube channel.
Sounds like a plan.
Sounds good.
So
Yeah,
what are the bullet
yeah,
points?
yes, so the post starts about how there are on-chain agents that are already managing treasuries, launching coins, and posting bounties. So that's also already happening on Farcaster, on Bountycaster. There were first bounties created by AI agents like 2 or 3 months ago already. Submit, discuss, and vote on proposals, launch DAOs along with legal wrappers, and a lot more. So yeah, what the AI agents can do, they can cat herd and perform admin work cheaply and instantly. They will not shy away from calling out bullshit proposals, what we just talked about. AI agents can sift through infinite noise and summarize. AI agents always stay aligned with the mission, as the mission is its own life, is its life itself. And the AI agent never burns out and never ghosts. So unless it crashes, I guess. But yeah, the point is how these... then you could argue that humans will still be needed to do IRL networking and BizDev. But when you think about it, agents will be networking 0/24. They will always be scanning for 3 opportunities with other agents, sharing offers and needs in an endless web of opportunities for a 1 + 1 is 3. And they'll be discussing proposals and slinging bounties faster than you can read. So this is the future that's coming.
I
can link
think
that
this is a
article as
great,
well.
great end of our today
Project manager.
live stream.
Sorry to interrupt you, but just the final few words.
Okay, sorry.
Project manager agents, role manager agents, advisory agents, delegate agents, summary agents, social media agents, and like those are the first 6 that I identified, and there's probably a lot more, and a lot of these are already like there's existing projects working on this, like role manager agents, obviously the head protocol people, there's a bunch of social media stuff, blah blah. So I think this will be done by, I don't think there will be like one CEO agent that does all of this for DAO, but more so that there will be like 5 or 10 different agents that are all like collaborating in running a DAO. Okay.
Future is multi-chain and multi-agentic.
It is. It really is.
Exactly. Well, it was fun discussion from DAOs to AI. So thank you, Pete, for coming. And we will share all the links and the show notes to the article and everything. And you can expect also some shorts on Instagram and TikTok where we also are. And you can also follow Gideon on LinkedIn. Yeah, we are on TikTok.
Oh, also on TikTok.
Nice.
Are you Gideon on TikTok as well?
No, of course not.
We had it in the consideration stage for many months.
Well, I think I just have like 24 hours to be on TikTok because United States, I think, ban it from tomorrow or something like that. But
yeah, they extended it by 70 plus days, I heard. So.
Really? Okay. Yeah. I did not follow the news, but so I can stay on TikTok. Amazing. Cool. So thanks everyone listening. Thank you, Pete, for coming.
To the DeepSeek.
Yep.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, guys.